So the federal government's going to ban solar panels. After all this time of us trying to reduce our use of fossil fuels, now let's do away with some unreliable thing also. Before I get into that, I want to tell you what we've done and how this is going to seriously affect us. So, as you know, we bought this property almost 3 years ago now. And we built a little tiny house, and we put 1,000 watts of solar panels on our camper at the time. When we came down here, we were living in the camper until we get our tiny house built. And we got all that done in the first year. So we have what's called Rich Solar. You can buy those on Amazon. And from all my research, Rich Solar does the best overall. Even though they're like the cheapest panels out there, mine is a 12-volt system. I know people are going to say, oh no, you need 24. I don't want to get into that argument. If you want to do 24, that's up to you. But what I find is if I need to buy replacement components for 12 volt, it's easy. I can go to Walmart and I get a new inverter, 12-volt inverter. If I want a battery, I can just go to Walmart and pick up a battery. I've talked about many times, for example, that simplistic systems in my mind are just better because you'll be able to maintain them. I hodgepodge mine all together, bought the solar panels. So I have 10 panels, 100 watts each. Yeah, we go on Amazon and bought my charge controller. Now, if you want to know how to install a solar panel, you can go to my channel, go over to playlist. I have videos of all kinds of different subject matters, and one of them is solar panels. And I've broken it down piece by piece and cost analysis. You may want to consider doing something right away, considering it's so easy, so you can have something. You don't have to put a huge system together like we got. Well, ours isn't really huge. Ours is medium maybe. But if you could just get a panel and play with it. So we bought the panels and the charge controller off Amazon. And then we got the inverter. I got the latest one off Amazon because they had a big one that we could use for the well pump. So I have two of them actually. I have a small one and a big one. Inverters tend to use energy just by converting or inverting the energy from DC to AC. So the smaller one you have, the less energy it uses. But for the well, I needed a big one, so I just shifted over to the big one when I'm running the well off the solar panels. And then I have lead acid batteries. Now I know a lot of people object to that, but there's a lot of reasons I don't buy lithium ion batteries. And there's just too many reasons to talk about. But for the main reason is because I know how to make these batteries last a long time. I know how to clean the gunk out of it. And it's not that bad. You can basically overhaul them. And you can Google that information. I don't do it because it does require the use of acid. And since I'm not an expert on all that, I don't feel like it's safe for me to discuss it on video. But you can Google it, and then you go buy yourself a battery charger from Walmart, and they have these little desulfification methods where it basically cleans the plates on your battery. And so in my mind, if I can get a battery to last 10 years, lead acid, and they're only $100 each, or even 7 or 8 years, and they're only $100 each, but I don't really see me ever having to replace batteries. So in my mind, lead acid batteries are just better. So what I'm trying to say is, my system, I can buy all the components relatively cheaply, one piece at a time. Now you can go out and buy these kits. They're huge systems and it's pretty complicated to put together. I've watched videos on it and you're like scratching your head at the end of the video. I mean, there's some really smart guys out there. There's one guy called Will. He's really smart when it comes to all this. So if you're not an electric engineer and you get lost on his third sentence, then maybe do it my way, and it's just cheaper and easier in my mind. But we don't run a lot. I run a little refrigerator. It's a dorm size refrigerator. It has a separate freezer, so it freezes just like a regular refrigerator. And we ran that for several years now. We actually took that out of the camper when we moved into the tiny house. The only downside to running a refrigerator on solar panels is when you go buy meat that is not frozen at the store. So you buy, well, we buy 30 pounds of meat, packages it up in little small packages, in 1 pound packages, and then we put it into the freezer. And we try to do that as early in the morning as possible so the sun will run the refrigerator during the day. But if I don't get those packages frozen by nighttime, then I have to run the generator throughout the night. That's the only downside to my system, because the batteries just don't last long enough to get through the night. That being said, I could add more batteries, but I really don't see the point in adding more batteries, to be honest, just for one night out of a month. I look at it as I just add in that extra gas cost. It takes 1 gallon of gas is what it takes to run that refrigerator through the night. So add another $4 in gas to your food costs. And then we run a tablet so I can do YouTube videos. It's a Windows tablet, very small. We run 2 cell phones. Of course, we run fans. We got 2 fans running in the wintertime. One where I run my ventilation from inside the house into the water tank to keep it warm. And then the other one we use just to kind of blow the air around in the house a little bit with the wood stove. Occasionally we'll run a vacuum cleaner, you know, on rare occasions. Occasionally we'll charge one of our battery operated tools batteries, but we can wait until it's a really sunny day for that. I'm really happy with our system. No matter how many times I talk about my system, I will get people to tell me it's a terrible system. This is what I should have done. But in my mind, what I should have done is what works. And what I have works. There's a thing called overkill. We are minimalists. That's why we live in a tiny house, and we try to minimize our trips to the store and minimize, you know, just everything. So why do we need to have a maximum amount of power when we're minimalist? We can actually run an air conditioner off our system. We did it when we were in the camper. I've showed that many times in the past. We can run it through the heat of the day. Of course, running it through the night on batteries, that would be near impossible, I think. We don't run the air conditioner anymore. We don't have air conditioning. My point is this is something that anybody can do. If you know what red wire is, red means positive, and a black wire means black means negative, then you can do a DIY solar system. People are worried about getting electrocuted by 12-volt batteries. You can stick, I proved it on video. It's probably in that playlist. You can stick your hand on the negative and the positive terminal of the battery and it won't electrocute you. I mean, don't be standing in water when you're doing it, or, you know, using your tongue and all that stuff. In general, it's not going to hurt you. If you accidentally hit the positive to the negative, it's going to create a significant spark. It's not the end of the world. It'll scare you for a second, get your heart thumping if you've never done it before. But if you're going to do solar panels, you might want to do it relatively quickly so you can figure out what you need. As you know, right now the sun is starting to go south. Well, as summer and fall progresses, it comes down to the south. So this way is south. You can see the sun is shining down on us. Well, the further south it goes, the less sunlight the solar panels receive than it does when the sun is right on top of the solar panels. And the reason is the sun's got to go through more junk through the sky. So that light has to travel through more particulate, more dust, more everything to get to us. Of course, it's got to travel further also. The sun is literally further away now than it was on the first day of summer. So the sun dims a little as summer and fall progresses. Well, it's going to get worse. Now, I got to use a lot of code words here because it's pretty likely that YouTube will restrict it if I use the wrong words. But the government has decided that they want to start research on putting a chemical in the stratosphere. I don't want to tell you the name of the chemical, but it will make the rain like it was back in the 70s and the 80s when companies were polluting and they were putting this chemical into the sky. Of course, they weren't doing it deliberately. And volcanoes put this chemical into the sky also. So as this chemical is put in the sky, it will cause the rain to be acidic. Of course, I'm trying to be careful with what I'm saying because they will limit the reach of this video. They want to reflect the sunlight back into space. Well, the problem with this in my mind is, okay, now you just restricted the sunlight coming to the planet. So that means solar panels aren't going to work very well. On a hazy, cloudy day, I make about half of the electricity with my solar panels as I do during a bright sunny day. And it just makes sense. I mean, solar, you gotta have solar, you gotta have sunlight to power these things. So what I try to do is I try to have enough solar panels to power on cloudy days. Sometimes that's not easy. If it's too cloudy, I don't want to get too complicated here, you never reach the volts that you need to kick on the charge controller. You got to have at least about 16 volts. You get that charge controller to kick on. But assuming you do get it to kick on, then the sun being blocked will limit the amount of amps the solar panels can make. So you got to make sure that you got enough solar panels to power in cloudy days. They want to pump this into the sky. Well, there's a lot of problems with this. Not only will it block the light coming through, minimizing the amount of power we can make, but imagine what it's going to do to the trees. Now, forgetting about the rain that's going to be acidic, we also have to think about trees need sunlight to grow, and so does plants. We know that trees absorb CO2, which is the thing that we want to reduce. So if we're reducing the amount of sunlight, reducing the number of trees, because the trees are going to need more sunlight, the trees won't be able to absorb the thing that we need to get rid of, CO2. So all this is very confusing to me. But if the government decides to go forward with this, there's really no stopping it. We got billionaires wanting to do it also. So there's no way to stop them. If they decide to do it, we have no say-so in it. So the only thing we're going to be able to do is just prepare for it. So if you are going to do solar panels, do what we've done. Don't invest a ton of money into a big fancy system. We've lived off our system for 3 years now, pretty much flawlessly. I mean, every now and then I got to go out and I've got to clean the wires because they get corroded, and I've tried everything. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, do this, do that, and I've tried it all. And they get corroded, so I go out and clean them occasionally. But other than that, really, we've done fine. So what I would recommend is minimize your life to a point where you don't need a lot of electricity, like we have. Then you can power your life, even if the clouds are in the way. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about wood stoves and the crazy stuff the government wants to do to those. So if I can inspire you to play around with solar panels so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.